We all know that the Pawn Stars are running a business. That shouldn't be too much of a shocker, but sometimes, in their desire to run the most successful business they can, they let their greed show in big ways. We already know the legendary "I'll give you $25, that's the best I can do" meme, but it goes well beyond that. The Pawn Stars can really cut to the bone with some of their deals, leaving their patrons scammed as a result. So allow us to show you 8 times the Pawn Star scam customers. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Just a reminder about our new giveaway. We're giving away the new iPad Pro or the new iMac Pro. The choice is yours. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple.
Number 8. 15th Century Samurai Sword. Swords come into the gold and silver pawn shop if you can believe it. In fact, there have been many episodes over the years that featured swords or some kind being bought, appraised, sold, and in one case, sold against the will of Rick himself. But that's a whole nother story. This scam has to deal with his son, Corey. Corey is the likely heir to the Pawn Stars throne whenever that time should come. And part of that is because he's learned from the best in terms of getting a good deal for the shop. In one case, a customer came to him with an authentic 15th century samurai sword from Japan. These swords are treasures in our culture today, especially when in the best of condition. Oh, and if it's obviously not a fake. Corey brought in an expert to make sure it was real, and it was, which obviously meant the price went up. But what Corey didn't let on was that he could tell this sword was indeed very valuable. So true to the nature of his father, he decided to try and pull a fast one and ask only for $800 for it, which the customer didn't do. They haggled for a bit and eventually got a deal struck at $1,500. This is where the scam comes in. Eventually, an appraiser came along to note the quality of the sword in terms of value. As it stood, it could be worth around $6,000. But if Corey put $3,000 into it to be restored, the new value would be around $15,000. So they would be making $10,500 in profit. So by keeping his cards close to his chest, he got a massive profit for himself, but basically robbed the customer of some serious money. Number 7. The Isaac Newton Book. Books on their own aren't always the best to sell at a pawn shop. However, if you have a copy of a 450-year-old book on alchemy from Isaac Newton's library, yeah, that is something else entirely. The old man was on call for this one, and after seeing the book brought in expert Gary, who confirmed that it was indeed a book from the famous thinker's collection. Gary placed the retail value of the book at $20,000. So you'd think the seller would get well over $10,000 for this, right? Wrong. The old man only gave $7,000 for it, all because he said a line about not eating dinner tonight. Was that line done with the Jedi mind trick? Oh, and it turns out much of the rest of Newton's book collection has either been destroyed or archived at Trinity College, Cambridge in England, meaning in reality this is actually a priceless piece of history, thus much more than the $7,000 if sold to the right institution or collector. So the fact that the old man was able to pull off this deal without much bartering is an astounding scam worthy of the record books. Don't forget, the seller heard the expert say $20,000, so he knew that at a minimum he could get at least $10,000 for it, but he didn't reach for that amount. Why? We don't know, but in this case it was a scam that the old man did easily, and the seller fell for just as easily. Oh well, at least you at home hopefully won't make this mistake. Number 6. 1951 signed baseball. Baseball and Pawn Stars have a rough history, let's just put it that way. They have been known to get some great baseball items, but also they've bought a lot of fakes that cost them a lot of money. One time though, a customer came in with a signed baseball from Joe DiMaggio, one of the most legendary baseball players ever. Plus, the ball itself was from 1951, making it a piece of history in regards to baseball. Why? Because it was DiMaggio's last year in the majors. So you can already see the dollar signs rolling in, right? But don't forget, the fakes game is strong in this field. So they brought in an expert who independently confirmed by comparing it to other signatures of DiMaggio that it was indeed real. But here's the rub. He also noted that the price of the ball is subjective, which is pretty scammy right off the bat. They've appraised various items with no signature, and that wasn't subjective, so why say that for this item? The old man felt a chance to get it for cheap based on that appraisal, and thus tried to get it by offering $800 for the ball. The customer was no fool though, and noted that it would be worth at least $3,000, but the Pawn Stars didn't agree, and so a deal wasn't made. This was a time when they really tried to do a scam but failed, because they wouldn't acknowledge the true value of the ball. Based on the popularity of it and the fact it was from DiMaggio's last year, we think it could have easily gotten over $5,000, but we'll never know now. Number 5, Hotchkiss Cannon. The Pawn Stars get to see some really cool items, no lie about that. But how about the time a frickin' cannon was brought to the shop? That was a blast. Get it? Anyway, one-time field artillery collector Chuck rolled his 1890 Hotchkiss cannon to the gold and silver pawn, aiming to land a deal. Things were looking up when Rick asked his weapons expert, "What can I pay for it and still make a few bucks?" To which he replied, "I would say $40,000 all day long." Chuck liked that estimate, but then he immediately committed a backfire by saying his bottom line was getting $30,000. Rick seized on Chuck's misstep and agreed to $30,000 as long as the cannon still fires, which they tested, and it did. A deal was made for $30,000, and the customer only has himself to blame for losing around $10,000. Don't give Rick a chance to buy it for lower, because he always will. Number 4, Colt Peacemaker. Guns aren't always a logical thing to sell at a pawn shop for various reasons, but historical weapons are another category altogether, and the Pawn Stars love to examine those, such as the legendary Colt 45, also known as the Peacemaker, which at one time graced their presence at the pawn shop. This legendary firearm was one that helped various military and law enforcement agencies put down outlaws and criminals in the days of the Wild West, and it was very effective. When Rick saw the gun, he admitted on camera that it was instantly valuable, mainly because of its condition, which was great, and its historical value, which we just outlined. Things immediately went back though for the sellers. He admitted that he bought the gun for only $25. Rick used that knowledge and didn't consult an expert to help secure a low bid of $3,000 for the gun. And then, when the expert did come in, he noted that the gun in its condition could be worth up to $42,000. Bullseye! Number 3, a 62 Lincoln Continental. Were scams something that happened only in later seasons of the show? Nope, they happened in season 1 as well. Like when Rick and the old man made a steal of a deal on a restored 1962 Lincoln Continental. The seller noted that he had put some work into it, but he couldn't put any more and just wanted to sell it, which he did for just $9,500, and then the scam revealed itself. Because they didn't leave the car in the condition they bought it in. They spent $15,000 to get the car back into showroom shape, and the result was a vehicle that was worth $30,000 to $35,000 depending on the buyer, meaning this deal was a possible $5,500 to $10,500 gain for the Pawn Stars. Number 2, the gold coin scam. This is a legendary scam on 2 levels. A young woman brought a collection of pretty expensive coins into the store and parted with them over the course of 3 trips, selling them all for $12,000. A good score for the shop. But it was later revealed she stole those coins before selling them. Even worse, the Pawn Stars decided to melt down the coins in order to make more money than what they bought them for. So when the real owner, the woman's uncle, came back to get them, he couldn't, and he revealed they were worth about $50,000, and the Pawn Stars likely knew that. The man tried to sue them, but it didn't take because it was revealed they didn't technically break any laws by buying the items and melting them down. It was a loophole. So their dual-tiered scam landed them in hot water, but also got them raining down gold. Number 1, scammed the Bible. In the season 14 episode, Oh Holy Pawn, a regular customer named Adam brought in a page of the Gutenberg Bible, which is one of the oldest versions of the Bible in the West, and only 49 of them exist in the world today. so thus it was a rare item. When Rick's expert confirmed this to be a real page from the Gutenberg Bible, the race was on to find a good price for the item. Adam wanted $65,000 for the page, but Rick shot that down and suggested $40,000. The two went back and forth and eventually settled on $47,000. While that still is a lot of money for a single page of a Bible, the expert Rick brought in said right in front of Adam that the page was valued at around $80,000, so he only got a little over half of what the page was actually worth. Why? We don't know. So what did you think? What did you think of this look at the Pawn Stars and the times that their desire for money basically led them to being scam artists with their customers? Do you think that some of these scams were at least somewhat justified? Which ones do you think were just plain rude? Do you know the other times the Pawn Stars cheated customers? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.
Just a reminder about our new giveaway. We're giving away the new iPad Pro or the new iMac Pro. The choice is yours. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple.